Welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Steven. I'm a pharmacist and I own 54 units of real estate. So today I have an interesting topic talking about building true wealth comes when you become bored. So this conversation is mostly for myself because I'm the type where I get really bored really easily. And it's a blessing and a curse. Because of my boredom, I try a lot of different things. I invested in single family homes, multifamily, mobile home parks. I was looking at self storage. I was looking at triple net, RV parks. I tried different businesses like drop shipping through Amazon. I had a pharmacy at one point. I created a YouTube channel. Like I have massive, massive shiny object syndrome because I get bored so easily. So it's a blessing, it's a curse. And in the beginning, boredom is nice because it gets me to take action. And once you take action, you get to learn a lot of different things, right? You have a lot of wins, you have a lot of losses. And for me, my wins are obviously I got started in real estate in 2017. Hindsight's 2020, but investing in 2017 ended up being a good time because COVID happened and interest rates dropped and everything skyrocketed in value. And from there, I shiny object syndrome into apartments, which I've done well. I have a 26 unit. That's the best apartment in my portfolio. And I have a 20 unit apartment complex, which is okay. I jumped into a mobile home park, which I ended up losing $100,000 on. So, because of my boredom, because of my shiny object syndrome, I ended up losing 100K and wasted 2 years of my life and uh, self-induced depression for myself in 2013, or sorry, 2023, not 2013. And because of boredom, I tried Amazon drop shipping through I think Ryan Panetta. He's a big YouTuber, and it's supposed to be passive. But the only thing passive about the Amazon dropshipping store was I was passively losing money every month. So I lost $30,000 very quickly. I decided to open my own pharmacy with some partners because I'm a pharmacist. So I thought it made sense. Once again, it was due to my boredom and end up losing about $30,000 on the deal. So I got a nice tax write off against my W 2 income. So, why I share all this is a reminder for myself because right now I'm very bored. Like, right now, to me, real estate feels very boring and stagnant, despite me buying two deals this year, still feels very boring. I have been investing for about since 2017, so that's about 8 years now. And, after a while, everything feels very similar. Like, I've basically bought a bunch of real estate. I'm at 54 units, and for the most part, they're pretty stabilized, as stabilized as it could be, given the conditions of the market. Yes, I do have tenants turning over, tenants I'm evicting, but the property managers, they manage that. I just manage the property manager. And a lot of times they just give me an update to tell me, hey, we just evicted unit number two and number five. We're going to turn it, make it rent ready. And at that point, we're going to rent it out to a new tenant. So, yes, it does suck that a tenant is evicted, that I have to repair the unit and renovate the unit, but it's nothing new, right? Once you own apartments, the downside of apartments is that you have more tenant turnover, especially if you own an apartment like I do. It's all one bedroom, one bath. Like that's typically somebody who's single or it's a couple. And once they have a kid or they want, to have more roommates, they have to upgrade to a two-bedroom unit. So that's why, like, I'm having the most turnover in my apartment that's one bedroom, one bath versus my apartment that's half one bedroom, one bath. The other half is two bedroom, one bath. If they want to upgrade to a bigger unit, they just can transfer from the one bedroom to the two bedroom, assuming that there is an opening. So, with all that being said, like I said, most of my real estate, it's very boring and stable at this point. So my first property I bought, same tenant. My second property I bought in 2019, same tenant. The third property I bought in 2020, it's the same tenant. My apartments, I finished renovating them and stabilizing them, have property management in place. My 20 unit, I finished renovating it, stabilizing it, have property management in place. I have, I guess, two in Huntsville, Alabama right now. I'm working on the third, but one it's leased out already. The other one it's pending lease out, and the other one I'm pending closing on it. So it's really like at this point automated. I don't have to spend much time and energy on my real estate portfolio at this time, besides managing the expenses and tracking the income. So I've been a lot more diligent now. Now that things have gotten more boring in tracking my expenses. So every month now, I track how much income I make from my whole portfolio, and then how much expenses I have to figure out my net cash flow, whether I'm positive cash flow, break even, or negative cash flow. And it just gives me a better way to track my expenses. And I haven't been as diligent when I was scaling my real estate portfolio. So, I'm trying to create more systems and processes in place to really watch my portfolio like a hawk now because I've grinded over the past 8 years to build up my real estate portfolio. Now it's time to optimize my portfolio, reassess it, and then see which properties I should sell and which properties I need to 1031 exchange or which properties I need to consider, trading up. So that's what I've been doing recently. But anyways, back to the topic of boredom. So in the beginning, when you buy your first single family home deal, it feels exciting. But after you've bought a few of them, it gets boring. With multifamily, I went to multifamily real estate honestly because I was bored of doing real single family real estate. So I went to multifamily. But now, if I were to buy a third apartment complex, it'd feel boring to me because I know exactly what to do. I would use the same property manager, the same contractor, and use the same renovation scheme and renovation style, LVP flooring, scrape the popcorn ceiling, bathtub kits. It's very cookie cutter, right? You just copy and paste, and it becomes really boring because I know exactly what it's going to look like and how long it's going to take and what the rents are going to be. So once you kind of hit this point of boredom, that's the point where you have to stay disciplined and not do something different or new. It's very tempting to do something different, tempting to do something new, but once you hit this boredom, that's when you know your wealth is starting to compound and it's compounding behind the scenes. Because I kind of thought about it, like, I think during COVID, I started tracking my net worth almost too obsessively, if I'm being honest. And then now, I think the app that I used was Personal Capita, which is now Empower. Like the app doesn't work anymore for some reason, but it's also been a blessing in disguise because I don't really track my net worth at all. And honestly, like it's kind of freeing in that sense because I was so focused on the money, so focused on this like arbitrary net paper net worth number. And it really just made me overthink too much. So with that mindset, like in a weird way, like I said, just not having access to that app anymore, like is blessing because now I'm just focused on like living my life and then letting compounding do its thing. Like the more I kind of think about something, the more I'm tempted to tweak it. So that's why they said that like the best investors in stocks, ironically, are the ones who forgot the password to their stock brokerage account because they did nothing and let the asset compound. And I've noticed that with my stock portfolio. So I do have $1 million plus stock portfolio. And honestly, it's super passive. Like all I did literally was buy like $10,000 worth of Apple stock in 2013. And the rest of it is just all index funds like VT Sachs through Vanguard. I have the total US stock market, the international stock market, and bonds. My allocation is about 70% total US, 25% international, 5% bonds. And I just set it and forget it every single month. And I've been doing that since 2013. And that's how I literally grew to $1 million uh, stock portfolio. Is literally set it and forget it, automate it. So it's super passive in that sense. And honestly, I've been doing that for my 401k. I just max it every year, dollar cost average, Vanguard, dollar cost average, universal life insurance, dollar cost average. I just set it and forget it. And honestly, they just grow way more than I think. And it's super automated, right? It could be tempting for me. Like lucky for me, I'm not into like trading and options and all that stuff because like number one, I'm just too lazy to research about stocks, and then number two is that it's just so active, right? Like I already have my hands full with my real estate portfolio, and trying to manage that, so I don't need any other excitement. But ironically, because of that mentality, literally my stock portfolio has like grown significantly doing nothing, right? The only new thing I've done was I probably bought $8,000 worth of, I think, Nvidia stock in my Roth, um, just as another stock. So literally I just own Apple, Nvidia, which is recent, and then the rest is all index funds through Vanguard. Like that's literally it. And just that alone is $1 million plus. So, like you said, that boring investment style, it's not exciting at all. It doesn't give me dopamine. It doesn't get me excited. It doesn't get me pumped. It doesn't sound cool to flex on social media, but it's doing so amazing despite me putting so little effort into there that I almost forget I own it. And I want my real estate to be at that level where like I almost forget that I own my real estate. And that's when I know that it's a good real estate portfolio, right? If I have to think about that portfolio because it requires more work, then maybe that asset isn't best for me long term, and maybe I need to sell that asset or 1031 exchange that asset into something else, something different. So that's what um, I've been thinking about a lot recently is okay, like my real estate is like super boring now, like or getting towards boring. Right now, my real estate's just a little stressful because of the high expenses, because of the more tenant turnover, the cash flow's been hit, right? And not just me getting hit, but a lot of real estate investors are getting hit right now. If you own a lot of units, you have tenants that are leaving, your expenses are higher because property tax is more expensive, insurance is more expensive, repairs are more expensive because labor cost goes up, materials more expensive. um, so, for me, like I'm trying to minimize the stress of real estate because inherently real estate is stressful, but I'm trying to minimize the stress of real estate by probably taking debt off the table. Honestly, like I'm probably looking to sell my 20 unit and then using that to basically pay for my ADUs cash and then don't have to worry about that anymore. And once I build the two ADUs, it's probably going to cash flow in Orange County about 6,000 bucks a month, which is way better than my 20 unit can ever cash flow. Best case, my 20 unit will cash flow 2,000 bucks a month. And that's not guaranteed every single month because I have CapEx issues, but I can take that money, sell it, pay depreciation recapture, pay long-term capital gains tax, and then use that money to build my ADUs cash. It's roughly going to be about 400K, and they would rent for about 6,000 bucks. So for me, it's a no-brainer move. And another move that I want to make when I want to step away from my pharmacist job or work part-time as a pharmacist is I need to sell one of my assets that are break even, a lot of equity, and I would use that to pay off my primary residence and save me of my mortgage, which believe it or not, I pay 5,500 bucks a month just for my mortgage. So, for me, what I learned was that if you want to retire early, it's not about your income, it's about managing your expenses, right? I mean, my income it's not gonna be super crazy high, but it's managing your expenses. And my largest expense, because I live in California and I want to stay in California, is my mortgage. So if I can pay off my $5,500 per month mortgage, I'm just stuck with a $2,000 per month property tax, HOA, insurance, utilities, which is still high relatively speaking, but it's manageable for me, right? Or in the future, if even if my house is paid off in Los Angeles, if I decide to move to somewhere cheaper like Vegas, I can always sell this house and then take the money and then go buy a house cash in Vegas. So it just gives me options. So like for me, I kind of hit this weird point now where like me buying more real estate actually thinks is going to compromise me more and lower my quality of life right now versus me selling real estate. I never thought I'd say this, but this is the different phases that you go through as a real estate investor. When you're scaling, you're just thinking about buying as much real estate as you can and leveraging and leveraging and leveraging. And that's what I had to do because I don't have partners. I don't have equity partners. I don't have private, you know, lenders on my deals. It's just me owning it 100% myself. So in order to get to, 50 units plus, you have to leverage a lot, right? But once you kind of hit your enough, once you hit enough, your net worth goal, your unit count goal, your income goal, that's when in my mind now, like taking debt off the table is actually better because I only want to get rich once, right? I don't want to um have to lose all my money because I built a house of cards, lose all my real estate, go bankrupt and start over again. I don't want to repeat the past 8 years. So that's why it's been very clear to me now that I need to start taking chips at the table, and selling assets and start owning things free and clear. And like you said, at this point, and I've experienced it, my quality of life right now, like I just bought another unit like in August, and I'm going to buy another one probably closing it maybe early December. I feel exactly the same. Like I'm not happier. I'm not like unhappier, but there could be more stressors because when you get a new property, obviously there's stress initially because put the utilities under your name. You have to find a new tenant, and then once you have the new tenant, then you have to, um, basically cancel utilities. So it just requires a little more work. And yes, my net worth did increase by buying this property by $50,000. But at this point, once you hit multi-million dollar net worth, it's not going to really move the needle. But what will move the needle for me, like I said, is having a paid off primary residence. So I'm not as tied to my job. Like if I got laid off from my job because of AI or just the job's not doing that great, then I would be stressed because I still have a $5,500 per month mortgage. So for me, like I said, I never thought I would say I would pay off debt. I mean, lucky for me, my primary residence debt is 6.5%, which isn't that low. But if my interest rate was like sub 3%, it'd be so hard for me to pay off my primary. But I think a subscriber said it well. And one of my comments is if you pay off your primary, you value freedom. If you value a return on investment and you're like a spreadsheet person, then obviously, if you pay off your 2% mortgage, you're better off just investing in an index fund where you can earn 7 to 10%. But if you value freedom, you want a paid off primary residence. So, like I said, for me, I am more optimized towards freedom. I'm more optimized towards less stress. I don't care to be like worth $100 million plus or a billionaire. I just want to basically have options in my life to live a life on my terms. That's been my whole strategy with real estate investing from the beginning. But I got lost in that grind of buying a lot of real estate, right? Like I scaled up to 90 units at one point, which was too much. I'm at 50 right now, and if I sell some, I'll probably be around the 30s, which I think is my sweet spot. If I'm being honest, I think my 30s is my sweet spot. Like I said, probably gonna sell my 20 unit eventually, build two ADUs, sell another unit to pay off my primary. So I'll probably low 30s. Is gonna be my sweet spot, but I'll be in a much better position, less stressed, and probably cash flowing a lot better with fewer expenses. So in my mind, it's a win in that way. So, like I said, like right now, I'm very, very tempted to buy more real estate because I know it's a buyer's market right now. And it's very tempting to just want to buy more real estate, buy more real estate, buy more real estate. And your human psychology, we're wired to have constant motion, to have constant movement. Because if we feel stagnant, we feel like we're falling behind. I'm guilty of this as well. So I'm trying to tell myself just because I'm sitting still and doing nothing doesn't mean that I'm not growing, right? Because every single month, when I get rent payment, I pay down the mortgage, I have principal pay down every single month. Maybe the my properties appreciate. Maybe if interest rates drop, I always said in my videos, if interest rates drop to like 3% again, my net worth's going to increase by $1 million easily between all my real estate doing nothing. So I just gotta be patient, let time do its thing, and overcome my boredom by doing other things, and let my assets compound and do its thing. So obviously, I've been listening to a lot of like Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, um, Dave Ramsey more recently. In the beginning, it was more about Robert Kiyosaki. Leverage, debt is good. But as I kind of built more wealth in the multi-million range and hit my enough and realized that I don't want to lose everything I built, I've been listening to more Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, and Charlie Munger advised you to avoid three things in life. There's three things that can cause the downfall of men. It's liquor, ladies, and leverage. Luckily, I don't really drink that much. Um, Ladies, I'm married, so I don't have to worry about that. And then leverage is my only thing that can wipe me out. And for those of you who are wondering, I have about $10 million in real estate. $5 million that is debt, 5 million is equity. So I'm at 50% debt to equity. And like I said, so with that position, assuming values of real estate doesn't plummet by 50%, I can technically sell half my portfolio and own the other half free and clear if I want to like take it easy, coast, and do all that. Or I might hit the point one day in 20 years where I'm sick of real estate and I can just sell my real estate and dump it into index funds, right? I can sell my real estate on my primary free and clear and, pay Uncle Sam a lot of money and then use that money, dump it in index fund, super passive, super easy, don't think about it, set and forget it, and live my life, right? So for me, that's why I say, this title of this live is the price of true wealth is boredom. So the moment you're bored, that's an indicator that you're compounding wealth, that you're building wealth, and you have to keep doing that. So now I'm trying to distract myself, my boredom of other things, like maybe going on vacation. I just came back from Vietnam, right? So I had this vacation zen, maybe trying a new restaurant, maybe doing a new hobby, maybe hanging out with friends, right? There's other ways to distract yourself. Don't make your investments boring, make other aspects of your life more exciting and dopamine filling, right? And then obviously, kids are on the horizon in the next 2, 3 years. So obviously I'll be very distracted and unbored once that happens. So like I said, keep the investments boring and then keep other aspects of your life more exciting. Like I'm trying to do that, right? That's why I honestly do YouTube. It's to distract me from doing stupid things with my real estate portfolio, with my investing, because I don't want to touch my real estate investments. Besides selling and repositioning, I don't want to touch my stocks. I just want to set it and forget it, and then let it do its thing. So, it's quite a fine balance of being bored. And like I said, don't take boredom as and stagnation as the same thing, right? Like for me, stagnation is like you're not taking action. But like when you're bored, you create such a good system. Like for me, I set and forget I automate my investments for index funds. So I put that initial one-time work of automation and let it do its thing. So every month I'm investing 3,000 bucks into index funds and it's allocated 70% into one fund, 25% into another fund, and 5% into another fund. And I just set it and forget it. So, you put that one-time work in and then you forget it. Right. So that's what I mean by it's boring. Being bored doesn't mean just sitting on your phone and scrolling on, Instagram or TikTok all day. It's really creating systems in place. Um, so it's really that mindset, right? And like I said, even for me for real estate, like it should be boring. Like every month I talk to my property manager, it should be a boring conversation. Like, okay, unit number 5 left. We're gonna fix it up. This is how we're gonna fix it up. This is how much it's gonna cost, and we're gonna advertise it. I'll let you know when it's rented out. Like that's literally my conversation with my property manager. That's how boring it is. Like, oh, hey, unit number 17 has roaches. We have to fumigate it, and it's gonna be a tenant cost because most likely they brought it in because when we did the pre-removal inspection, there were no roaches. So like that's how boring it is. It's the same things over and over again, right? So that's what I mean by boredom. Like you just have to embrace it and then like do it for a long period of time. So like another thing I learned for the human psychology, so this is a little bit psychological, is our brain craves complexity for some reason. We want everything to be overcomplicated, but honestly, most things in life are simple. Like if you want to have a six pack, which I don't have, literally all you have to do is eat clean and move more than you sit and be consistent at the gym. Like there's no real hack other than that, right? Just go to the gym a lot, eat healthy, and then be consistent. That's literally it. Same thing can be said for building wealth. Just take action, be consistent. I mean, if you look at the wealth building formula, sorry, I messed up on that one. The wealth building formula is literally you make money, spend less than you make, or spend less than you make, whatever margin you have, invest that margin into an asset that you like, whether it's real estate, stocks, crypto, another business, and then do that for multiple decades and let it compound. Literally, that's it. You can become a multimillionaire just doing that, right? It doesn't matter what asset you pick. You can do single family homes in California. You can do single family homes in Huntsville. You can do apartments in Oklahoma. You can do mobile home park. You can do self storage, triple net. Just pick one and commit to it. Become the best at it and do it for a long period of time. That's it, right? So, like for me, I just can buy real estate in Huntsville and become very wealthy from that. I can own apartments in Oklahoma and become very wealthy from that. I can own single family homes in California, become very wealthy from that. I just can work as a pharmacist, become wealthy from that, right? So just pick one thing and just do it for a long period of time, right? So that's what I mean. Like once again, like I'm the most bored person in the world. When I get bored, I start looking at different things on YouTube and it leads me down rabbit holes that I shouldn't go down. Like for me, I was looking at like oil investing. I was looking at triple net leases because I'm like, oh, it's more passive. I was looking at commercial strip centers. I was looking at mobile home parks again, even though I got burnt by a mobile home park, right? Like that's boredom. And it, so I tried to like when I like research these things, I try to catch myself like, hey, Steven, you're just bored and you're learning this, but don't take action on it. Don't buy something else. Just learn about it, quench that boredom, and then move on. Right. So like I said, TLDR, once you're bored, that's when you know your wealth's gonna compound. Like I said, I didn't even track my net worth until I was like multiple millions. Like I didn't even know I was a millionaire until like I tracked it one day and I ended up being worth 5 million. And I was like, I didn't even know that because I was just so focused on like living my life and then automating things. I didn't even track anything. I just one day tracked it. and saw, oh shoot, I'm worth 5 million plus. I didn't even know it, right? So like that's what I mean by like it should be that boring. So like now I'm not going to track my net worth as diligently. I'll maybe check maybe once a quarter, assuming Empower works. Right now it doesn't work, but and then my stocks I never really check either. And then my real estate, I'm just monitoring the expenses. So I still have to monitor my real estate. I can't be too passive on that because I need to see how the assets are doing and which asset I'm going to unload, right? To basically take debt off the table. So once again, like you said, like anytime I was bored and anytime I did something different, I lost money, right? I was bored of single family, multifamily. What did I do? I bought a mobile home park. I lost money. I was wanting quick, easy cash through a business, was bored. I did an Amazon dropshipping store, lost money. I was bored and wanted to open my own pharmacy. I lost money. If you notice the theme here, anytime I deviated from what's worked for me or what's been boring for me, I lost money. So, this is a reminder for you to embrace that boredom, but don't be stagnant, but embrace the boredom and then distract yourself so that you don't make stupid mistakes of your investments. Like that's the TLDR of this whole video. Now please drop your questions. I'm gonna start looking at the questions, answering your questions. Pretty open book. But let me start at the top. So first question is, what's your ethnicity and favorite food? So I'm Vietnamese American. I just went to Vietnam for the first time. Just came back this past week, so recovering from jet lag. Favorite food, it's hard. Like I live in Los Angeles and we have so much food variety. But I like a variety of cuisines. It's hard for me to pick one. If I were to pick one recently, it's probably like Korean barbecue has been my most favorite as of late. So next person, Mr. Sean, in your late 40s and looking back, I'm very fortunate not to go through any major real estate crash. I could have been more aggressive. I'm glad I did not keep on buying. Instead of, so I'm assuming you didn't invest during 2008, because a lot of people did get wiped off with these shadow ninja loans. I was in high school in 2008, so I never experienced a crash actually. So that's why I'm very cautious and very wary because I invested in 2017 all the way to 2025, and I've never experienced a bad time until recently. And I would say I don't even know if this is the worst time right now, right? Like I would say in 2023, it got stagnant. 2024, 25, it got stagnant. For me, I noticed in 2025, that's when my real estate portfolio was hit the most between more evictions, more repairs, more expenses, insurance going up, property tax going up. Like in Huntsville, Alabama, they just doubled the property tax rate for investors only. So if you're a homeowner in Huntsville, your rate is 0. Wait, sorry, 0.32%. But if you're an investor, they doubled it. So now my property tax rate is 0.64%. Sucks. But now my cash flow got eaten into, right? So that's you live and learn. So for me, I've only invested during the good times. I never experienced the bad times. That's why I'm very cognizant now of wanting to take chips off the table because I don't want to lose what I built, right? I only want to build wealth one time. I don't want to have to build wealth two, three times. A lot of the big investors, like Dave Ramsey, he got wiped off, right? I think Robert Kiyosaki got wiped out at one point. I think Trump got wiped out at one point. I don't want to be that person who gets wiped out. I just want to build wealth one time and then keep it, right? That's really my goal. So I'm fortunate as well, where I've never experienced a true crash, unless it's right now. If that's the case, then it's not as bad as I thought it was, or it might get worse in 2026. Who knows, right? I'm hoping interest rates trend down, which they have been, and if they do trend down, most likely my properties will start to appreciate, especially the ones in California. So for me, I feel like I've went very aggressive. Like I said, I own 90 units of real estate. I bought a mobile home park deal that I probably should not have bought. It's still biting me in the butt today. But I have no regrets now. I feel like I bought all the real estate I ever could. I own more real estate than I ever thought I would own. So I have no regrets in terms of real estate, right? If I were to buy real estate again, I'm hoping to buy from a position of power versus a position of desperation. When I first bought my real estate, I was buying from a position of desperation, not from a position of power. For my next phase of my real estate investing journey, I want to buy from a power position, which I never had, right? So a power position means putting larger down payments, not buying deals just for the sake of buying deals, but buying deals because it makes sense, right? So that's kind of my strategy now. So in the beginning, I bought out of desperation. Now I want to buy from a position of power. So I hope I can be able to do that. I have to survive this current recession, whenever that happens, in order to do that. Um, so Mr. Sean saying instead of doing just real estate, get started investing in trading options. Like I said, I have no interest in trading options. I actually don't own much crypto. I only own FBTC, which is an index fund that tracks Bitcoin, I believe. So it's not really crypto, but that's the only exposure I have. So like I said, I have no interest in trading options because like I'm lazy. If I'm being honest, I'm so lazy right now. Like this is maybe post vacation, Stephen, but like I'm just enjoying being lazy before I have kids and a family and I can't be lazy anymore. So trying to enjoy my boredom while I can. Um, Question here from Imrana. Are you planning on writing a book on building wealth? I don't plan on writing a book unless there's massive, massive demand for me to write a book. I'd rather just do live streams and talk because it's easier than writing a book. But I'm open to it because a lot of content creators, if I go down that path, they do write books and then they go on like speaking tours. So I don't know if I'll get that big, but for right now, it doesn't make sense, but I might be open to it down the road. Right now, I want to do more live streams to interact with you guys more. Tiffany likes VT Sex. Yes, that's my favorite. Why pick a stock? Just own the whole market. Like I'm very big on that, and you reinvest your dividends, so it's super passive, super easy. Um, is VTI better than VT Sax? Honestly, I think VTI is the same thing as VT Sax, but one's an ETF and one is not. I don't know the difference between the two, but I think they're both the total US stock market. How much am I invested in crypto? So as I mentioned, the only thing I have in crypto, which isn't really crypto, is I own $8,000 worth of FBTC, which is an index fund that tracks Bitcoin. I'm not sure if it's truly crypto, but that's the only exposure I have. So $8,000 of my multi-million dollar net worth is crypto exposure. Um, Sean saying real estate is never not stressful. I agree. Insurance is always fun every year when you have to renew your insurance, right? Sometimes, like I remember when I first got my insurance policy on my 20 unit or my 26 unit, it was 20,000 bucks because I got replacement cost insurance. The next year, it became $25,000. The year after that, it became $30,000. And after that, I said, why am I buying replacement cost insurance? I switched to actual cash value insurance, and now I'm paying $8,000, right? And I got renewed for $8,000 again. But every year it's fun when you get renewed your insurance. How much more am I going to pay, right? I know a lot of investors, it tripled how much they were paying. Like one investor, he was paying 10,000, now he's paying 30, and that's a great way to wipe out your cash flow if you own apartments. Number one. Number two is if your NOI increases, what does that do to the value of your real estate? It decreases the value of your real estate because your NOI went down. So you just lost value in your real estate, right? So that's the joys of owning real estate. But if you own real estate free and clear, you actually don't need insurance anymore, right? So that's something I've been thinking about. If I own my 26 unit apartment complex free and clear, sorry, getting thirsty here. If I were to own my 26 unit apartment complex free and clear, I don't need to technically have insurance on it. I probably still will. But if you own something free and clear, you don't need insurance because you're self-insured and there's no lender on the deal requiring you to get that insurance. So something I've been thinking about, like if I own a property free and clear, do I need insurance on it? But I probably will because in case it burns down, I don't want to lose my asset, right? But yes, real estate, you have a lot of surprises with property tax. You have a lot of surprises of insurance. There's more liability. Like I said, one day I may say, screw real estate, sell it all, dump it into VT Sacks and enjoy my life, right? So, for me, that right now real estate works, but maybe in 20 years it may not work. So I'm constantly reassessing real estate. Do I invest for cash flow or appreciation? So, I have multiple videos talking about this, but what's built my net worth to multi millions is appreciation in California specifically. What's helped me build my net worth as well is forced appreciation through my apartments. What do I mean by that? My 26 unit, I bought it for half a million dollars. I put $300,000 to renovate it, and I renovate all the units nicely. New kitchen, cabinets, new flooring, new bathroom, new paint, new appliances, everything brand new. And after I renovate the unit, what that allowed me to do, that allowed me to raise the rents from the current rents to market rents. The current rents were around 350 on average, believe it or not. But the market rents were around 700. So after I finished my renovations, made them really nice, really modern, what did I do? I raise it up to market rents. And if you double the rents and you double your NOI, what does that do for an apartment? That doubles the value. So I bought this for 500,000, put in 300,000 in renovation, all in for 800K. But I was able to double the NOI, so now it's worth about $1.6 million. So I forced $800,000 of appreciation, but because I didn't cash out refinance this deal, thankfully, thank God I didn't do it because I'd be underwater if I did. But it's worth $1.6 million. I could have easily gotten a cash out refinance, a new loan. My current loan is 350K. I could have easily put out $1 million. I could have put up my down payment. I could have put up my renovation costs, an additional $300,000 on top of that, tax free, and go buy another apartment complex. And my monthly loan payment will go from 2,000 bucks a month, probably closer to $7,000, $8,000 a month. If that was the case, my 26 unit would probably not be cash flowing at all. So that's why I'm thankful I didn't leverage my 26 unit apartment complex. If I did, I'd be super cash flow negative right now, right? So that's the downside of bursts, right? If you pull out more money and have more debt, you wipe out your cash flow. So I'm glad I didn't cash flow or cash out refinance my 26 unit, despite having a lot of equity trapped in there. It's worth $1.6 million, but my loan is 350. So I have a lot of money trapped in there. Um, in terms of, so I started off investing for appreciation and forced appreciation, but now I kind of pivoted more towards cash flow, right? So I can now take my assets that have a lot of appreciation and then transform it into cash flow. How do I do that? Right? It'd be me selling my 20 unit, right? I would sell my 20 unit, take that money to build ADUs all cash in California, Orange County, and then those ADUs would cash flow because I own them free and clear, 6,000 bucks a month each total between the two ADUs. So one ADU is a one bedroom, one bath, which is the garage conversion. The other ADU is the backyard ADU, 3 bedroom, two bath, 1,000 square foot. That rents for 3,700. So collectively, it's $6,200 a month. But the ADUs are paid with cash from my 20 unit proceeds. So that's pure cash flow, right? Another way to increase my cash flow is to lower my expenses. So my mortgage is 5,500 bucks a month on my primary. I could sell an asset that's break even, take that equity, pay off my primary. Now I'm not obligated to this $5,500 per month mortgage. So that lowered my expenses or increased my cash flow by 5,500 bucks a month in that way. So like for me, it really depends on your situation. Like if you have a good income W-2, whether through business, you can start investing in it for appreciation. But as you start looking for retirement, like if you want to step away from your W-2, if you want to step away from your business or your business income is not consistent, then maybe you can start transforming some of those assets of high appreciation into more cash flowing assets. Like that's the fastest way, in my opinion, to retiring from your job is you focus on appreciation and then you transform that into cash flow, right? So there's three types of markets I'm investing in that suffice each need. California, all appreciation. Oklahoma City was forced appreciation and cash flow because Oklahoma doesn't really appreciate by forced appreciation by increasing the NOI and by renovations. But if I were to own a single family home in Oklahoma, it doesn't really appreciate much. It's more of a cash flow play. And then Huntsville, Alabama is my hybrid market. It's a little bit of cash flow, a little bit of appreciation. Right? I'm banking on the fact that Huntsville, Alabama will double in value over the next 15 years, right? Because Space Command's going there. A lot of good jobs there, good school districts, and it's very affordable to live there. So that's how I kind of see cash flow appreciation. But obviously, you don't want any properties that you own, they're called alligators, where you're bleeding every single month. Like for me, I have one property that I own that's bleeding 3,000 bucks a month. Why is it bleeding 3,000 bucks a month? Because I stripped out a lot of equity from it during COVID when interest rates were low to go buy my 26 unit apartment complex, to go buy my 20 unit apartment complex, and to go buy my mobile home park, right? So would I do that again? Probably not. But now I'm stuck with this alligator that's biting 3,000 bucks a month. But fortunately, that $3,000 is covered by the assets I used to, you know, the equity I use to go buy assets. So my 26 unit covers my negative cash flow property. But ideally, you want your assets to cover itself and to be self-sufficient. So that's the way I view real estate. So sorry, TLDR of that is ideally, if I were to do it over again, just start with appreciation, then transform that appreciation, make sure you're at least cash flow neutral or break even, and and then transform that into cash flow once you want to retire. So what I could do is I could sell my California single family homes and take that equity, 1031 exchange it, and buy properties in Huntsville, Alabama, all cash because it's only 250K and they rent for 2,000 bucks a month each. So you have to constantly pivot your portfolio depending on your needs, depending on your wants. Like for me, I do want to retire hopefully in the next 5 years from my pharmacist career, or just be part time, or just work on a contract basis. So knowing that, I'm starting to pivot my portfolio more towards cash flow. In the beginning, the first 8 years, more appreciation. Um, Mr. Sean as well. To me, getting rid of one or two of my properties will be a relief and good for early retirement. Completely agree. I'm probably gonna, like I said, I'm gonna sell my 20 unit, take the money, build two ADUs for cash flow, sell another property to pay off my primary. At that point, I'll be in a much stronger position to retire early. Um, Next question is Stephen, what's your opinion on AI in the future? I have a video talking about that, but I just said the pharmacist profession is dying. Like that's been my most viral video, and I think AI will start to replace more pharmacist positions. So our profession needs to elevate and do more clinically oriented duties, not just counting pills and verifying orders on a desk. So but for me, I'm probably gonna be retired from pharmacy by the time AI takes over. I hope, right? Unless it rapidly changes the next 5 years. But for me, that's why I did real estate because I got laid off during COVID, got slapped in the face, realized that healthcare wasn't as stable as I thought it was, and that's why I buy real estate. And thanks to real estate, I can retire early. So for me, regardless of AI or not, I think you should have multiple streams of income. Your main one through W-2 and another multiple stream of income, whether that's real estate, your side business, whatever that looks like, so that you can hedge yourself in case you get laid off. Because right now, if I got laid off from my pharmacist job, I still have to find another job because I'm not fully independent of my W-2 job just yet. It's still golden handcuffs for me. So Sky Nate, I plan on buying another rental property, but one of my rentals have been still in the market for rent for over a month, and I'm in a hot rental market debating going to stocks over more real estate. So basically, in Huntsville, Alabama, the average amount of time I think to rent out a unit is between 1 month, 3 months. In California, every time my unit went vacant, it's taking me on average about 1 to 2 months to rent it out. So it really depends on your priorities. Obviously, real estate, you have the advantage of leverage, but you also have the disadvantage where it's more active. So it just depends where you want to go with your life. If you just want to simplify your life, obviously index funds is a lot easier. But if you want a higher return or shooting for a higher return, then obviously real estate is the way to go. Um, John, what's your main goal? High equity or high cash flow? So for me, in the beginning, it was building my net worth. And now that I've had a high multi-million dollar net worth, it's now focused on higher cash flow. So how am I doing that? I'm taking chips off the table. I'm selling my 20 unit, or trying to. Probably gonna sell a single family home, pay the taxes, don't 1031 exchange it, use that money to pay off my primary and use that money to build ADUs. So I'm taking debt off the table. If I make those moves, I'd probably take almost about $2 million of debt off the table. So I go from $5 million in debt to $3 million in debt, but I would have lowered my expense by 6,000 bucks, and I would have increased my cash flow by 6,000 bucks. So I think those moves are worth it, right? To make those moves, and it would require me to sell. So what's my main goal? My main goal is to have freedom to do what I want when I want, to not be dependent on a job. My goal is to have a less stressful lifestyle. Obviously, I've taken a very stressful lifestyle working full time, managing my 54 units, and also creating content, right? Like for me, my ultimate lifestyle would be to literally just have a very low stress real estate portfolio. That's the minimally number of units I need to have the cash flow to live my lifestyle, and then just do YouTube because I love just talking and teaching and interacting with people. Like I do that naturally. I don't even get paid much from YouTube, and like I just love doing it, right? Like I used to like talk too much at work about real estate, and people would tell me to shut up. So that's why I started YouTube, right? Because if people at work don't want to listen to me, then maybe somebody on the internet would want to listen to me. So that's what I would love to do. And what's nice about YouTube is that there's no cost, right? It's free to post on YouTube. It's free to create content. I already have internet. I already have a laptop. I already have a phone. It's free. Next question is, what's my hobby? So right now, my hobby has just been like traveling and like trying new things in LA and just really enjoying my dink lifestyle. So dual income, no kids. Because once I have kids, hobbies may be a luxury, right? We'll see. Um, James, is a PhD in pharmaceutical health outcomes and policy worth it? My answer is probably no. I have a master's degree in public health through UC Berkeley. I have a doctorate degree from the University of Pacific. Hasn't gotten me more pay, right? Hasn't gotten me more opportunities. So honestly, I don't think you need it unless you just want to do it for your self fulfillment. Um, Next question: what do you think about tax deed lien options as a way to buy homes? Have I tried it yet? I don't like liens or tax auctions because you don't have time to do due diligence, right? You don't have time to like really inspect the property, understand the market, understand the area. So I don't like the whole tax auction and lien route. People have made a lot of money doing it, but it's just not for me, right? It's just not for me. So I've never done it. Don't plan on doing it, right? I'd rather just find something off market. It's less competitive, and just make an offer, right? That's how I bought my two apartment complexes. Um, and I'll probably continue to do that if I do want to buy apartments again. Another great question is how do I differentiate between boredom and being stagnant? So, once again, you have to automate your investments, then you become bored, right? Automate, set it, forget it, then you become bored, right? If you don't automate it, then you're just being lazy, right? So, that's the key distinction. Next question, is your course still available? I'm thinking of buying it. So, yes, my course is still my link tree. I did drop the price recently, and I did start a school community. So please check it out. The course is still live. I think it's a little bit under $1,000 now. And the school community I just started up recently, have about 7 really active members, which is nice. So check that out on a free trial if you want to learn from other people, learn from other investors. And I do try to host a Q&A session once every 2 to 3 weeks, whenever I'm available, to really network. And so far, it's been a lot of newer investors that have been joined who are looking to buy their first deal, right? So you don't have to necessarily want to buy a multifamily deal. A lot of the people in the community are beginners looking to buy their first deal. So check it out, the course, and check out the school community. Is out of state real estate investing still worth it? So for me, yes, just because California is very expensive. But if I lived in a cheaper market, then I wouldn't. I would prefer to invest in my backyard if I can afford to. Like if I made millions of dollars from YouTube, I wouldn't go out of state. I just would buy in Orange County, and what I would do is I would buy a property with a big lot, and I would buy that house with 10% down with the intent to live in that house, and then I could move into that house. And once I move into that house, whatever money I have left over, I would use to build the ADU in the backyard, convert the garage to an ADU, rent those two out, move out of that house, rent out the main house, and then buy another house 10% down and build those ADUs. Honestly, if I had infinite money and I could afford 400K of cash every single time because I made money through like YouTube or a business, that's the move I would do, to be honest. I would buy a house 10% down in Orange County, big lot, convert that garage to 1 bedroom, 1 bath, build a 3 bedroom, 2 bath in the backyard, rent those out, and then move out of the main house, rent out the main house, and rinse and repeat that process. If I put 10% down on the main house, it's going to be cash flow negative, right? And that's okay because I'm living in that house. But once the two ADUs are built and they're paid off cash, they would cash flow $6,000 a month to cover the main house, which is probably cash flow negative. I would say at least $2,000 a month. So overall net for those 3 units, you'd be cash flow positive, maybe $3,000 to $4,000, right? So that's the move I would be doing right now if I can afford to. But because I can only afford, let's say $78,000 down, that's why I'm buying out of state, right? So I buy out of state because I have to. But if money wasn't a problem and I was making a lot of money through my job, through my YouTube, through a business, I would buy in Orange County, big lots all day, build ADUs all day. That would be my move, honestly, if I were to do it today. Next question is, how do I balance being YOLO and frugal? So for me, I'm very intentional in how I spend my money, right? At this point in my life, buying clothes doesn't give me value. Buying watches doesn't give me value. Getting a nicer car doesn't bring me value. What gives me value is trying new things, trying new restaurants, going to concerts, traveling. So I cut out ruthlessly things that do not bring me value, which is clothing, my car. I'm very frugal on that end, but when it comes to travel, when it comes to concerts, when it comes to new food, new restaurants, experiences, I spend a lot of money. That's where all my money goes to, right? So when I travel to like Vietnam, and what's beautiful about Vietnam is that things are cheap there. Like you can literally get a nice 5-star Michelin level meal for $10 US in Vietnam. Like I just had truffle pasta for like $5, and the same truffle pasta in LA is $100. Same experience, same food, 1/10 the price, right? So there's a way to do it. So that's how I kind of balance uh, being YOLO and being frugal. It's as Ramit Sethi says, just be very intentional how you spend your money. What brings you value? For me, it's travel and food and concerts. That's where I spend my money. Everything else, I don't really spend much money on. Right? Clothes, could care less. Car, um, we'll see. Um, Dave Ramsey doesn't like debt. He wants you to pay cash for everything. Your thoughts? So, like, I think paying cash is great if you have the ability to do so. But a lot of real estate investors, especially me starting off, I can't afford to save $800,000 to buy a house. I would never be able to buy a house, right? So for me, I do like leverage in the beginning, but once you hit your net worth goal, once you hit your enough number, then I think paying off debt is worth it, right? Because imagine if you had a real estate portfolio owned free and clear, you're not stressed at all. If your tenant leaves, whatever, you have no mortgage. You just have property tax, insurance, HOA. That's nothing, right? If you have a major plumbing issue and your property's paid off, you're not stressed because you just take the cash flow from the property and use that to cover the repairs. So I think in the beginning, you do have to get debt, but once you hit your enough number, and for me, I am close to my enough number, which is like a little bit under, um, 10 million. That's why I'm taking debt at the table. So I think that's the most realistic approach, unless, like there's this guy Anton Davis. He actually critiqued one of my videos, and he says that he buys his real estate cash, but he makes like $6-7 million a year from his media business, from his Patreon. If I made that much money from my YouTube and from my business, I'd be buying houses cash all day because it's easier. But I don't make $6 million a year. I make less than that. I make a normal wage uh, in LA, and I basically have to leverage in the beginning. But like you said, in the beginning, maybe the first 10 years you leverage. But after that, once you built up your net worth, once you hit your enough, you can sell some assets, pay taxes, and take that off the table. So to me, I think that's the most realistic approach to doing it. Um, Raphael, thanks for keeping me accountable. 5 more minutes before going back to work. Stocks or real estate, which is king. Honestly, 80% of my net worth is in real estate, 20% of my net worth is in stocks. Um, so for me, it's a fine balance, right? Like I have most of my net worth in real estate, 80%, 20% is in stocks. Stocks is super passive for me. So that's why I like it. So it's hard for me to pick, but like I've made most of my net worth in real estate. Stocks are super passive. If I got sick of real estate, I'd dump it all in stocks or index funds specifically. Raphael, thanks for the super chat. Back to work. I consider this to be my work though. So it's the catch 22. Um, let's see. I need to be worth 100 million. $5 million is chump change. Agreed. I mean, I don't think I'll ever get to $100 million net worth. So I'm probably happy around 10 million, to be honest. But yes, if you're worth 100 million, 5 million is nothing. Like you could lose $5 million and not worry about it because it's 5% of your net worth. Like for me, if I'm worth 10 million, then losing 5% of that is nothing, right? Um, so yes. Next question is, my daughter is currently pursuing to be a pharmacist. I've seen your previous videos. I hesitate to tell my daughter to change her career and to be a nurse practitioner. I'm an RN. I've said it multiple times. If I were to go back, I'd be a CRNA. CRNA. They make more than me. You just have to become a nurse first, work in the ICU, and then go back for a master's degree. I would be a CRNA because they make over $300,000. Nice schedule, and it's less liability. So, if you're in California, I think it's oversaturated. If you're out of California, maybe pharmacies are not saturated yet, but in California specifically, it's oversaturated. So if that's the case, I would be hesitant to become a pharmacist in California today. Out of state, different story. If I were to do healthcare in California, I'd be a CRNA, right? That's just my um, 2 cents. Um, let's see what other questions. Let's see, it's a different time right now. Finding cheap real estate to flip or generate cash flow is hard to find, meaning if you are starting off, it's hard to start. If you're seasoned, uh, if you can still find properties, it's just a lot more work. At the end of the day, it comes down to how much work you want to do. So yes, like investing in 2025 is harder compared to 2017. Hindsight's 2020, right? Like in 5 years from now, and it's when it's 2030, I'm probably going to be saying, oh, it's easier to buy in 2025 than it was in 2030, right? Especially if Trump gets 50-year mortgages, if Trump lowers the interest rates, what's that going to do? It's going to skyrocket the value of real estate, and that only helps people who owns real estate, like myself, right? If you're trying to get in for the first time, it's going to make it even harder. So it's really hard for me to say. I don't have a crystal ball, but yes, in this current market, are you having to put larger down payments to make it work? Probably. Are you have to doing having to do creative financing off market? Probably. Is it going to take more work and more effort to find a good deal that cash flows today? Yes. So it's not going to get easier, in my opinion. So, like I said, you hit the nail on the head. How much work do you want to put in? Are you willing to go off market? Are you willing to do direct mail? Are you willing to do cold calling, cold texting, cold email, networking of brokers, making multiple offers? Are you willing to put in that work? If so, you'll find a deal, but it requires way more work than um, it will. So, during COVID, what were people saying? Oh, Stephen, it's a seller's market. It's hard to find a deal. It's too competitive. You have 20, 30 offers. Well, I bought the most real estate during COVID, right? Because I went off market. So, pick your poison. If it's a seller's market, you have a bidding war. If it's a buyer's market, then you're just making so many different offers, right? And it's hard to make it cash flow. So pick your poison. But what I always tell people, invest when it makes sense for you in real estate. If you have the time, the energy, the effort, the money, the capital, the drive, the perseverance, do it. If you don't, maybe stick to stocks, right? Um, why do I need cash flow if I already have a high income W-2? Building high equity would be better. Are you retiring soon? So yes, like, if because I work as a pharmacist, never live off my real estate cash flow. So I'm allowed to use that to reinvest over time. That's how I built up my net worth. But for me, I don't want to work uh, much longer. Like I want to retire ideally in my 40s so that I can enjoy my life, enjoy time with my future kids, and to live life on my terms. Like you said, I did real estate not to build up a crazy net worth, but to enjoy life and to enjoy life on my terms specifically and to travel. Right? I want to travel when I'm younger, when I'm healthier, when I have fewer obligations. So that's why I prefer cash flow or in transitioning over to cash flow over the next 5 years as I plan for my exit from the W-2 world, or I just can work part time or work as a contractor, right? So it just gives me options. Um, I think it's best to wait for the housing market to crash. Then it's best to invest. If you can find a property that's low, yes, I agree. Then it's a good time to invest. You know, I feel like I heard a lot of people tell me they want to wait for the housing market to crash, and they've been waiting since 2010, right? Like literally 2010, oh, it's going to crash. 11, it's going to crash. 12, it's going to crash. When I was buying in 2017, people were telling me it's going to crash. 18, it's going to crash. 19, it's going to crash. During COVID, it's going to crash. I still haven't really seen the crash yet, right? So, like I said, don't wait for the market to crash. Just invest when it makes sense for you, right? If it makes sense for you to invest right now, invest right now. If it doesn't make sense for you, then don't invest, right? So that's just kind of my 2 cents. Um, just kind of my opinion, right? Like hindsight's 2020. We could be in a crash right now. I don't know. Right. In 5 years from now, I might say 2025 was a crash, or maybe the crash hasn't happened yet. So, like you said, invest when it makes sense for you. Right. When you're in a position to invest, then do it. Um, do you invest in any physical asset like gold or silver? How about foreign currency? I because of my wedding, someone gifted us gold. That's the only gold I own. Right? So I don't have physical assets. I consider real estate to be a physical asset. I don't have foreign currency. I don't do forex. I keep it simple, right? Index funds, real estate, and I have a little bit of crypto. through index fund. I have a little bit of gold. That's about it. Um, let's see. Don't let them bring in rent control or you're screwed. So yeah, rent control is kind of funny for me. Like when ironically in my rent controlled markets, it encourages me to raise the rents exactly by the rent control amount. If the rent control amount is 5%, well, guess how much I want to raise your rent by? 5%. So it's kind of counterintuitive, right? So in markets where rent control happens, I'm more encouraged to raise the rents by 5% because I don't want it to be too far below market rent. So I'm quite 50-50 on rent control, but yeah, obviously I invest in California, which is rent controlled, and then I invest in Oklahoma and Alabama, which isn't rent controlled. So Angel, what are my thoughts on doing refinances? I have a paid off duplex worth 300K. I paid it off early, but kind of feeling behind. I could use that equity for a BRRRR. So, if you were to do a cash out refinance right now, from that duplex, my question is, how much cash flow are you getting from that duplex? And is that cash flow enough? Because if you were to, because I will say I owned a paid off, or having a paid off property gives you such a peace of mind. It lets you invest with such clarity versus like me, who I have too much debt. I don't invest with as much clarity as I would had I had a paid off property. So, for me, it really depends on what phase you want it. If you want to scale, then you probably should strip out that equity, do the BRRRR, pull out the money, but don't pull out so much that you're cash flow negative and use that money to go buy another asset. But like you said, you have to constantly go down that hamster wheel. So, if you want to scale, then you know, you probably should do a cash out refinance. That's what I did when I was scaling. I pulled out $1.2 million tax free and use that to scale. But then once I've hit my enough and I don't want to scale anymore, then at that point, I want to basically take that money, sell some, pay taxes, and pay off my properties. So I'm going for a period where I'm leveraging and then I'm deleveraging. So it depends on what phase you are in. So it's hard for me to gauge, right? If you want to scale and get more to hit your enough, then do it. But if you don't want to do more real estate, then having a paid off duplex is very nice. It's a very good goal to have, right? I want to pay off my primary so I can de-stress. What's my biggest mistake I made in the last year? My biggest mistake I made in the last year was probably um, not managing my expenses as well as I should have, or tracked it as diligently as I should have, right? So like I only recently, by July of 2025, started tracking all my rental properties, the income, the expense per property, and then total net per month. Like I kind of knew high level how I was doing, but it's different once you like actually track it every single month to see like, oh my God, this property is cash flow negative this month. This property is really cash flow positive. And it gives me more of a perspective as to which properties I will likely keep and which ones I will likely sell. So that's probably the biggest mistake I've made. But like you said, I've been busy stabilizing my portfolio, so I haven't been as diligent with my current properties that I have. Next question is it worth it becoming a contractor and getting licensed to build your own ADUs or remodel, especially in California? So for me, I am not handy at all. I can't even change a toilet, right? I don't want to change toilets. That's why I didn't go into real estate. So for me, I'm not handy. The most I could ever do in my mind is maybe paint, honestly, is maybe do some painting, like touch up some, wall paint. But I'm not handy at all. But if you are handy, that's a huge unfair advantage. I wish I could do flooring. I wish I could do repairs and renovations because I would renovate my own properties because it's way cheaper to do that, right? Like to replace flooring in one of my apartments cost me $3,000. 1,000 was for materials, 2,000 was for labor. If you did it yourself in a day, you just saved $2,000, right? I just got quoted to repaint the interior of one of my rentals, 2,000 square foot. $4,000 was my first quote. $2,000 was my second quote. But geez, to paint a whole house in a day, you make $2,000. That's more than my W-2. I'd rather be a painter, right? So if I was handy and I enjoyed doing it, I would totally become a contractor and renovate my own units, but I'm not. So I have no interest in that. So it depends on you, right? But for me, I talked about my prior videos. I'm thinking of becoming a real estate broker and then focus on selling Lennar Home specifically because it's so easy to sell Lennar Home. It's so easy to sell Lennar Home. Like literally, I just connect you, the buyer, to the Lennar agent, and the Lennar agent does everything else. And I could get $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 commissions depending on how much the home is, right? So like I will literally become a real estate broker. So if you want to use me in the next 3 to 6 months, I'll get my real estate broker license and I will sell Lennar homes, only Lennar homes, right? In California and in Huntsville and in wherever there's a Lennar home, I'll sell it, right? So so that's my goal because it's so easy. It's easy $10,000 for doing nothing, right? Because I'm very lazy. Like I don't want to work that hard to become a realtor. And it'll be kind of cool too if I can check out some homes here in California, have access to it, and film content in it. That's why I want to become a broker, not to really make crazy money, but just to make money here and there, sell some Lennar homes, and check out some homes. So next question is, do you care about how ADUs affect a property, like too many cares for a property parking, or do you just care about cash flow? So yeah, for ADUs, obviously, it's not as attractive if you have a backyard house, if you have a garage converted because you lose your garage. But it's just like to me, it's no different than living in an apartment. It's actually better to live in a backyard house than to live in an apartment. Because if you live in an apartment, you have a neighbor to your right, to your left, up, down. But if it's a backyard house, you don't even share a wall. And the way they built it, ADU, I checked the one out in Orange County. It was a single family home. They built a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,000 square foot in the backyard, separate entrance, and they converted the garage to a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And honestly, when I was in the garage unit, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, I couldn't tell that I was sharing a wall. The way they structure the windows is in a way where you don't see the main house. And same with the backyard house. Like the backyard house had a little fence, had its own walkway, own entrance, and the way they structure the windows, you don't even look at the main house. And they had a nice little skylight to make it feel bright. It had very tall ceilings, so it felt very spacious. So honestly, I'd rather live in a backyard house than I would in an apartment complex. So my goal is with the ADUs, I'm gonna rent those ADUs for the same price as the apartments. So right now, the apartments for a 3 bedroom, 2 bath rents for 3,700. That's exactly how much I'm gonna rent my backyard house for, and I know it's gonna be popular because it's better than an apartment. And also, for the 1 bedroom, 1 bath, I'm gonna rent that as a apartment rate as well. So for me, yes, it's gonna be a different tenant base when you have ADUs, but for me, it's more of a cash flow play. Like my current tenant that's living in the main house, I told him upfront, hey, I plan on building an ADU. I don't know when, but just so you know, something's to be in the backyard eventually. So 5 years later, I told him I'm going to be moving forward with building an ADU. Are you still okay with it? If you're not okay with it, you can give me a notice to move out, and that's okay, right? And then they said, no, we're cool with the backyard house. We weren't really using the backyard. It's okay. They had a little pool that they set up there, but they can take away that inflatable pool. But then I told them, actually, I'm also thinking at the same time of building, converting the garage to a 1 bedroom, 1 bath. Is that a deal breaker for you? And they just said, well, we're just kind of storing stuff in there. It's okay for us to give up that garage, but we can work something out. And I think they're alluding to maybe I can drop the rents a little bit for them because they lose their garage. So for me, it's more of a cash flow play. And what's nice about my property is that I have a long driveway that can fit 6 cars, and it's in a cul-de-sac, so parking is not an issue. But in Orange County, they require for you to build, 2 ADUs, you must be within half a mile of public transit, and literally 2 blocks away, there's a bus stop. So I'm not worried about parking. Um, and another question is, how do ADUs affect the neighborhood? Yeah, it makes it more population dense. It's going to suck for the neighbors when I start renovation or building because because well, you're just dealing with all the concrete, the roofing, the noise of construction, the dust. Um, so it's just annoying for the neighbors, but it can happen anywhere. Like in my house I'm living in, the neighbors can decide to renovate their kitchen, and I will hear a bunch of hammering. It's annoying. So that's just the unfortunate part. So I do like ADUs because it's a really great cash flow play. Where can I build 2 ADUs for 400K and it rents for 6,000 bucks? That's more than a 1% rule, right? So this is crazy. Um, I wonder if I'm rushing the next deal because I am bored. Most likely. That's why I bought 2 deals in Huntsville, Alabama over the past 3 months because I was bored. I'll be honest. I was just bored. I just wanted to make action, so that's why I bought it. What's my cash flow retirement number? So I think for me, it's the sweet spot's probably between 15 to 20K a month, um, and with a paid off house. So if I have a paid off house, I can probably be around 10 to 15K, but I would say 15 to 20K is my sweet spot because cash flow is inconsistent, right? So, when I retire from my W-2, I still be working at capacity. I'll still be doing YouTube. I'll still be doing school and coaching and all that on the side. But my main source of income will be from my real estate portfolio. So, my sweet spot, let's just call it, is between 10 to 20K, right? 15K is in the middle. Because me and my wife, we live very humbly. Yes, kids are on the horizon. Kids are expensive, but kids can be expensive as you want them to be. We don't plan on doing private school for kids. Activities can be expensive, but they can also be free too. Like we have a community pool here. We can go swimming, going to the park. Yes, like, if you do piano lessons or activities like Taekwondo, it's expensive, but like I said, it's purely optional. Why did I get fired from Walgreens? I have a whole video about that. But I think they just didn't like me. I was very green, and um, yeah, I think I just didn't I realized that, like, retail pharmacy wasn't for me. So maybe I wasn't the greatest worker on top of that, and maybe they just didn't like me, right? So you move on, you live, and I'm in a better place because of that firing. So MPH, would you recommend your ADU contractor? You mentioned you chose a third Vietnamese contractor. I would like to build an ADU in Eastvale and Norco area. So for me, I'm highly likely going to use them. I haven't signed the contract just yet, and I did like the work they've done. I like the quality of their work. I like how they've really know Orange County. So I don't know if they go out to the Norco Eastvale area, but if you just send me an email, so go on my link tree, send me an email. I can connect you with them if you want a quote. I don't know if they go out there, but if they are, they'll let you know. um, so what are some of your favorite financial content creators you follow? So right now, ooh, I've been listening to a lot of Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett. I've been listening to a lot of Alex Hormozy for mindset stuff, and I think that's really it, like, currently. Like, I don't really listen to Bigger Pockets anymore, because I think their content's not realistic anymore. And then my favorite 3 books on building wealth, obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad got me started, Tony Robbins' Money Mastered the Game, and The One Thing. So the one thing is don't get distracted. Um, Nicola, never thought being bored as a privilege. It is a privilege. Like, I never thought of it that way either. But, like, right now on the weekends, I'm so bored, and my wife keeps on reminding me, "Well, once you have kids, Steven, or once we have kids, we won't be bored because there'll be a kid running around, right? So, like, enjoy this boredom. Like, boredom is a privilege. If I'm bored of my job, it's a privilege. If I'm bored with my investment portfolio, it's a privilege. So yeah, that's a mindset shift that I made. Why am I buying any businesses yet? I did buy a pharmacy. Didn't work out for me. Um, let's see, what rates are you getting with your refinance? So I'm getting 6.875 debt service coverage ratio loan, 5-year prepay, 75% cash out refinance, and probably paying about 1% in fees. So yeah, I'm getting a little bit sub 7 right now, but I'm networking with a lot of mortgage brokers right now to see what loan options are. Um, so we'll see, but hopefully it gets lower. Do I like Los Angeles or Bay Area more? Right now, I like LA. That's why I'm living there because there's more food, there's more things to do. The Bay Area, I have more family there. I have rentals there that I can move into. That's cheaper than my current house. But right now, I'm liking Los Angeles because the food's great and there's a lot of things to do here. So can't complain. But if I retire, I can split my time. I can live in half time in the Bay Area, half time in LA. So I have the best of both worlds. What is one thing you don't mind splurging money on? As I mentioned earlier, it's travel. Travel. I go all out on travel and don't spare expenses. How can I get a consultation with you? How much do you charge for your time? So, Wordly, just send me an email, um, or click on my link tree. I can drop it down below, or I can drop it in the comments here. I'll drop you my email. Just send me an email. But right now, my one-on-one coaching is a little more expensive. It's about 500 bucks an hour. So the cheaper alternative is to join my school community and then go into the Q&As. The school community is 30 bucks a month of a free trial. I do Q&As, but if you want something private, then it's about 500 bucks an hour. That's just kind of my rate because I don't want to take away time from my other things. So just send me an email or click on my link tree to see that. But like I said, the cheapest way is to join the school community and hop on the Q&As. That's the cheapest way to do it, if I'm being honest. Do I raise rents? Yes, I do. I do raise rents on my California properties once every 2 years. What I do is if let's say my current rent's 4,000, market rent's 4,500, I'll probably raise it to 4,200 to be a little bit below market, but not too below market. That's how I kind of do it. Um, if you want a context. Should I buy a new or used car? So I've historically bought used cars. I had a used BMW because it's cheaper. But my Tesla is new because I got the federal tax credit. So historically in the fire community, you want to buy something used. So that's what I recommend, right? Like if my car were to break down, I probably would get a used Tesla, something like that. Um, what's my opinion of the fire movement, and did I ever want to pursue it? So I like the fire movement. I like the thought of being able to retire early because I don't want to work until I'm like 65. I want to be able to live life on my terms, travel, and not wake up to the alarm. Like, there's just so much stress that goes with a W-2 job. You have to work with people you don't like. You have to have a boss that may change that you may not like. You have to do over commute. You have to pack your lunch. Some days I just wake up, I don't want to go to work. So I really like the fire movement. And I never thought I would pursue it. I want to retire by 35. I'm already 35, so I've failed. But my most realistic retirement is most likely probably 40 to 45 is maybe about 5 to 10 years if I make the right moves. Um, Walgreens fired me for no reason. You should file charge for discrimination. Yeah, I could, but like it's not just worth my time and energy at this point. Back then, I just figured that it's a higher power telling me that it's not for me and to move on. Right? Sometimes you gotta know when to step away. But yes, I probably could have, maybe sued and got some money, but it would not have been that much, maybe a couple thousand. So it's not worth it. Are laundromats a good business to buy for cash flow? So I actually looked at laundromats, and I think laundromats on paper sound like they're great cash flow, but I don't know. Like, I'm sure there's pros and cons to it. There is a way to make money from it, but I heard it's very active. So, to me, it's not worth it if it's that active. But I know people who made a lot of money through laundromats, but I also know people. My mom, she actually had a dry cleaner, and it lost money, right? How do you protect your wealth? LLC trust. So Wordly, I have a whole video talking about it, about my asset protection plan. So I have a trust, which owns my holding company, which then owns my LLCs, which owns my real estate. So that's a more sophisticated model. But if you don't want to do LLCs, that's okay. I know a lot of people who have a lot of real estate that don't do LLCs. You should at least have an umbrella insurance policy, overarching. That's the minimum. That's the minimum asset protection. But check out my video. Just search asset protection on my channel, and then you'll see that video talking about it. I think I draw out how my asset protection looks. How did my Asian culture and family help in saving money and building wealth? So my parents are very frugal. They taught me to save money. They taught me that I shouldn't spend money, that I should save money and do that. So, but my parents didn't really know much about investing, if I'm being honest. So my dad actually told me not to invest in real estate, and he thinks it's too risky. So I didn't listen to his advice and I bought a bunch of real estate. And he actually doesn't know I own real estate unless he watches my YouTube channel, which I don't think he does. If my dad does watch my YouTube channel, hi dad. But my dad told me not to buy real estate. It's too risky. Um, but he knows I own the ones in California, but he doesn't know I own ones in Oklahoma and Alabama. So don't tell him. I'll get in trouble. Is 401k a good investment vehicle? So I still max out my 401k while I still work. Sorry, I'm getting a little hungry here. I didn't expect so much engagement in this live stream, to be honest. So I'm gonna eat this Twix here. But yes, I maxed out my 401k every year since 2013. So I've been maxing it out for 12 years. It's nice because I'm a high income W 2. But the downside is that if you want to retire early, you can't access your 401k. So, but if you have a high income W 2, highly recommend you max out your 401k. I maxed out my IRA on top of that to do the backdoor Roth conversion. I think it's 7,000. I maxed out my HSA through my job because I have a high deductible health plan. And I max fund whole life insurance, which is not for everybody. A lot of people shit on me because of whole life insurance. The minimum is term, but because I'm higher net worth, I think whole life insurance and max funding it is only a game for those who have a higher net worth. And by higher net worth, I'd say 5 million plus, right? If you're not above 5 million, if you're below 5 million, term's better for you. So, anyways, thanks for the engagement on this live stream. Thanks for the engagement. Hopefully, it didn't bore you, pun intended. But just wanted to give my thoughts about how boredom is a privilege, how boredom is an indicator that your wealth is compounding. So don't mess it up, right? And like I said, hoping to do more live streams to engage with you guys. Let me know if you have any topics you want me to discuss on my live streams. I just been thinking whatever topic I've been thinking fresh in mind. But if you have a topic, just send me a message, send me an email, put it a comment. Um, anyways, if you want coaching, you want mentorship, you want to join the school community on a free trial, click on my link tree. Like I mentioned before, you can do the school community on a 7-day free trial. The courses coaching, I dropped the price recently, so check it out. If you want a steadily landlord insurance quote to see if you can save money on your insurance policy, um, click on my link for steadily to see if you can save money on your insurance. If so, great. Otherwise, please like, comment, subscribe, and hope to see you in the next one. Thank you so much, y'all. Have a good weekend and enjoy the NFL.